we've got quite the jam-packed webinar for you guys today. Welcome,
Yeah.
Judy.
And just to piggyback on that too, Josh, like I know we made a pretty bold statement here with our title, but it's literally true, with the data to back it up. And I get really excited about this topic. I love content marketing and education and that sort of thing, but this specific, like narrow part of the whole process, most people aren't doing. And it's just a huge opportunity. So I'm super pumped to walk through kind of the steps, and it's not actually that difficult to implement either.
No, not at all. So my name is Josh. I head up partnership marketing here at Hatch, and I'm really excited to be partnering up with Builder Funnel. They're one of the great agencies in our space. They've got a great academy called Builder Funnel Academy that I recommend you guys check out. And Spencer has built quite the company over there, and just really honored to have him hop on. So thanks for hopping on, Spencer.
Hey, like I said, I'm excited to be here. I love talking about this stuff. Any opportunity to educate on just what we've learned and what we've seen kind of implementing this process. We've been doing this for a decade now. I got started with my uncle's remodeling and custom home division. Took them from about 2 million to 10 million over a few years, and was like, man, we gotta get more people doing this because the power of the web and the stuff we're going to talk about today is really strong. And I really like pairing, what I'm going to talk about with what you guys special in over there at Hatch, because I think it's a nice accelerant and also personalization to what you can do with all these leads as they start coming in.
Yeah, no doubt. And Spencer, I got to brag about you a little bit. Not only is it your birthday today, but Spencer just released a new book, and I was on Amazon in the new release section, and his book showed up as number one right here. So congratulations, Spencer, on the release, and congrats on cracking Amazon's code there and showing up number one. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, thanks, Josh. It's you keep working hard at stuff, and then some weeks are just good. You launch a book and your birthday, and it falls on the same week. So
there we go. So a lot of the stuff in this book, we're going to be talking about today, right, Spencer?
Yeah, absolutely. We're kind of diving into a focus part of, a couple of those chapters in the book. But yeah, if you do want to head over to that website, if you go to the website and then it'll take you to Amazon from there, but there's some info on some book bonuses. So if you haven't grabbed a copy yet, even if you buy just one book, we're giving out some cool bonuses. And then if you buy like 10 or 25 or however many you want to buy, we got some extra cool stuff over there too.
Right on. Cool. So today we're going to be covering, we talked about this earlier, what you need to do to acquire these top of funnel leads. We'll talk through what even a funnel is and what top of funnel means in your business. We're going to be sharing some templates that are working today to actually get these leads to turn into appointments, get them from being, somebody in research mode to ready to, set an appointment with you in your business. So going to be some good content to share with you guys. And I got to just highlight this stat that came out recently. 97% of the leads that are on your website are not ready to buy. They're in full-on research mode. And simply put, most companies are not trying to chase these leads. Is that a fair assessment, Spencer?
Yeah, for sure. And I kind of like to talk about it in I won't go super in the weeds on it, but there's like a lead matrix, right? So you've got like warm leads and cold leads. Warm leads are referrals, and cold leads I put in like marketing advertising. And I only say they're cold because they don't know you like a referral lead. So they're just coming to you for the first time. And then within that bucket of cold leads, you've got leads ready to buy today, which is 3%. And then leads ready later, which is 97%. Nobody wants to target cold leads ready to buy later because that just sounds awful. But that's where like all the opportunity is, because those people flow down the funnel 2 months later, 4 months later, 9 months later, and now they're actually opportunities. But if you engage with them early in the process, then you're putting yourself in a really good spot.
Yeah, for sure. You're basically establishing trust and credibility early on, and a brand image that, really puts you ahead.
Yeah, and that's something you get inherently with a referral lead. And so if you think about a marketing lead, you have to bake that trust building into your process versus a referral. It's like they already trust you because they had a friend that worked with you. And so if you think about it that way, I think it makes a lot more sense in terms of going, okay, I actually have to put some effort into building trust and credibility.
For sure. And let's start off with a poll question. Question is, how are you staying in front of the 97% of leads who aren't ready to buy today? How are you staying in front? What are you doing today to go after those leads that might be in research mode? Just curious what you guys are doing in your business. And we'll make sure we kind of talk through what's effective, what isn't effective, especially now in the digital age of things. And
Looks like
so
we
a
got
lot of folks are doing digital advertising.
yeah. Oh, some direct mail, some radio, TV. I'd love to, for those that are doing some radio or TV, if in the hop over to the chat and just let us know a little bit more about what you're doing there. Curious if that's working or how you're tracking that.
Nice, interesting. So over half of you guys are investing in digital. A lot of you guys aren't doing anything right now to go after those leads. So this is definitely going to be insightful for you guys and really for everybody, especially the folks that are doing direct mail and radio. We're kind of flipping what has been traditionally in the industry to go after these, research mode folks on its head, really. And with how we're going to go about using content as a vehicle to get leads and establish that trust, credibility, and get that appointment scheduled. Cool. Thanks for the participation, guys. Go ahead and close that poll. Spencer, I think you can talk to this better than I can. The old versus the new way of looking at the sales funnel.
Yeah. And I think this helps for context, as we dive into kind of capturing these top of the funnel leads. But you think about the old way of sales and kind of this whole, we talk about this as like a marketing and sales funnel generally. But I think most companies operate under, the first step being quote. Somebody requested a quote, they fill out your contact us form, they call in, they have some questions about a project. Those are people that have made it all the way to that intent stage where they're saying, hey, I'm interested in doing this project and I want to get more information about pricing and what it looks like to work with your company. And so that's that quote request stage. And then obviously you work to book appointments from there, and then you'll close the sale. So that's kind of that old model. I also think about the way people shopped and bought things used to look a lot different. If you were, I'll just use an example of a TV, you'd go into like a Best Buy or something and you'd have to talk to a salesperson to like get all this information, right? They had all the pricing, all the specs, the models, but they had all the cards. And so it was the same in every industry, just like in our industry, home improvement. If you wanted information, you had to go talk to a salesperson. But with the internet, that all has changed. People have access to tons of information. And so we'll talk about kind of what that new funnel looks like. And that's really the introduction of these, what we call in the marketing world, top of funnel leads. And we like to abbreviate everything. So we call them TOFU leads. And then you've got middle of the funnel, which are MOFU, and then bottom of the funnel. But we'll talk about that top of the funnel here. And you can see that's where we talk about a content download. So somebody's doing research, they visit your website, and now we need some way to engage with them and connect with them while they're researching, because that's going to bridge that gap from, hey, I'm just browsing and thinking about it. And then 6 months later is when they're actually going to go into that yellow part of the funnel, the quote request. So what are we going to do in between? And if we don't actually capture their information early on, we have no chance to build trust and credibility, because they just hit our website, they browse, and then they leave. So that's the big difference, is that introduction of that top of the funnel. Josh, would you add anything into that?
Yeah, for sure. And if you do the math here, I just want to show you guys like the impact. This is anonymized data, but this is real data. 1,200 leads originally came in through this company's quote request funnel. I think this was over the course of like a 6-month time frame. When they started incorporating content, they increased their lead gen by around 50%. So if you just give the people on your website an opportunity that are in research mode, the 97% of the folks that are on your website that aren't ready to buy, if you give them an opportunity to download a piece of content that'll help them with their decision, or as they're doing research, maybe it's a design guide, cost guide. Spencer's going to talk through some of those today and how you can build that in your business. If you introduce something like that, you're going to be able to fill your funnel, increase the amount of appointments that you're setting, and of course, increase your number of sales. It works. And I'll say this from a personal standpoint here at Hatch. We're a software company, so instead of an appointment, it's a demo, right? And so what we started doing is doing these things called ebooks. And I'll just lay it out right here for you guys on the webinar. We offer ebooks, and Spencer does the same thing. Offer ebooks, and it's educational material. It's not a hard sale approach. It's simply, hey, here's a strategy. Here's how to tackle this strategy. Here's how to tackle this strategy. Well, if you download a few ebooks, we're looking to establish trust with you and credibility. And then eventually, when we do make that ask to say, hey, are you interested in learning more about Hatch, or interested in learning more about Builder Funnel, it's a much easier ask. And because we've established that trust and credibility up front. So in the same way, for you guys as a business, have something that people can just digest, provide value to them. And I'll talk through what that looks like in terms of when you get to ask for the appointment. But really, guys, the content's absolutely king. And a recent stat came out that a majority of new home buyers are millennials, and millennials are doing more research online than anybody ever before. And on average, the home that they're buying is over 30 years old. So with that in mind, they're going to need more remodeling work done this year, next year. So you're going to have folks that are going to be doing a lot of research. There might be more price conscious than other folks. So they're going to want to know how much things cost. So again, introduce that content piece, and you're going to be really filling your funnel here.
Yeah. And I love that. And I like to think about, I always think about, do kind of like a survey of one, right? Like, how do you buy things today, and what kind of research do you do? And I know, like, you get caught in that trap. You go to buy anything on Amazon or something, like, you'll spend 30 minutes poking around, like comparing pricing and all the stats, and like, oh, this one's like a little bit more value. And obviously you can't quite do that in our space, because it's not like you're buying a TV or a camera or something like that. But the same philosophy applies. You've got all these people out there. We love, as consumers, we love to do our own research. We love to gather information. We want to be armed and confident when we go into that quote request stage. And so really what we're just trying to do is take our marketing and our sales and just mirror the way people actually shop and buy. And I think that can be a helpful analogy to just think through, like, what does somebody want to know if they were going to buy my service and what I offer? And how can I teach them? And by teaching them, you attract them while they're doing that research.
Yeah, and Spencer, the whole concept around they ask, you answer is like so relevant right here, right? So think about when you go into the appointment, what kind of questions are being asked by the homeowner? What kind of questions are being asked when your call center gets a new lead, right? Address those questions and on your website with different pieces of content. That's just a no-brainer right there.
Yeah, then that's a great like tactical takeaway for people, is just, either talk to a few salespeople and just say, hey, what are the last like 5 to 10 questions you got in the sales process? And then boom, those are now like blog topics or videos that you can create that, if somebody asked it in the sales process, to your point, Josh, like tons of people are Googling that same question.
Yep. No doubt.
Cool. So before we get into the meat of what we're going to talk about, just a little bit of background on Builder Funnel if you're not familiar with us. We're a full service agency. Like I said, we got our start in the industry. My family's been in the home building kind of residential construction space for about 110 years now. And we really kicked things off with them digitally in 2010. Our whole goal is to help people turn their websites into 24/7 lead gen machines. And that's what we're going to talk about today. If you want to learn a little bit more about us, there's a couple of links below to our main site. And then we also have an academy that teaches basically step-by-step everything that we do.
Nice. And a little bit about Hatch. We're a messaging app for contractors specifically designed to put all these things that you're doing manually today, the follow-up, the new lead comes in, you gotta reach out to them. We put that all on autopilot over text, email, and voicemail. We really specialize in getting you first to the lead, beating your competitors to the lead, rehashing those leads, and then, of course, those appointment installs, confirmations, put that all on autopilot. So we put a lot of time back in your day. We put a lot more dollars back in your pocket. And what's really cool about Hatch is it's super collaborative. Your entire team can handle conversations, share conversations, and it'll help you not only nurture leads that you have at the top of your funnel, which we'll talk through today, but also help you as you're managing through that whole sale and install process as well. And we connect up with, all the major home improvement CRMs that you guys are likely using today, like Market Sharp, Job Nimbus, Job Progress, Improve It 360, you name it. And we're really stoked that Leap sponsored this webinar. So thank you, Leap, for being a sponsor in this webinar. Leap's a partner of Hatch's, and they really help eliminate the redundancies and errors that can slow down your sales process. We really like Leap because they put a lot of the selling portion and the quoting and estimating and all that stuff on autopilot. And so we're happy to be partners with Leap. So thank you, Leap, for sponsoring this webinar. All right, now to dig in. Spencer, what does your website need to acquire these top of funnel leads? We talked through all these ideas and, they ask you answer. What do you actually need?
Yeah. This is the meat of it. So let's get into it. I'm big on let's talk about the why and why it's important. And then let's get right into tactical stuff that, hey, you're spending your time on this webinar. What can you take away from this and immediately put into action? So we're going to keep it really simple. I'll break it down and then we'll go through some examples that you can even take those examples and run with them. So there's really three main things that you need to do to start capturing these thousands of leads. And again, it's going to vary depending on your website traffic. But if you think about all the people coming to your website, we need a piece of premium content, a call to action, and a landing page. Those are really at the heart of it, those three things. And now you've put yourself in a spot to start grabbing these people while they're in research mode. So it's really just those three simple steps. And if we go to the next slide, we could talk about premium content a little bit. So if you think about free content is going to be something like a blog post, maybe a project page on your website, a video on YouTube or Facebook, or that you embed on your site. But it's something that somebody can just come to your site or your social and just access. Premium content is where you have to trade information. So you're going to say, hey, I've got something that you might be interested in, but I need at least your name and your email. Sometimes you ask for more information, but that's why we call it premium content. Some people call these lead magnets, where you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to capture lead info and I'm going to give you an exchange. And we'll talk through a few examples, but these are typically PDFs. They could be a webinar like you're on today. They could be, Josh talked about some reports and different downloads. And so it's basically, again, honoring and matching the way people are shopping and buying and saying, hey, I know you're looking for this information, but this is kind of a little bit like insider information, or there's something unique or special. And so we talk about gating it. But basically you're saying, hey, I've got something for you. Give me your name and email. We'll make a swap. So that's premium content. Once you've got that, then we're going to talk about call to action, CTAs. So when somebody's on your website, you need something that's going to grab their attention. And most of you probably have this, but it's just in the form of what we would call a bottom of the funnel call to action. So request a quote, request a consultation, contact us. A phone number is a call to action. if you think about all of those examples, those are all bottom of the funnel. So somebody, again, they're ready to buy, or they're very close to buying. And so they're at that very end of the sales process. And so we're going to walk through what a call to action could look like more at the top of the funnel, but you need something as somebody's browsing, they're on a service page, they're on a project page, they're on a blog post. We want to grab their attention with a call to action. I'll show you guys a couple of examples of those. And then once they click on the call to action, we go to a landing page. And these are called landing pages, conversion pages, squeeze pages. But basically, this is the page, the critical page where we say, hey, here's this free guide. Here's this, report. Put in your information, and then I'll hook you up with this. And so that is the conversion page where you actually physically convert and capture the lead. And again, we'll walk through examples. So these are really just those three components: premium content, call to action, landing page. And if you start implementing this, you will immediately start capturing leads that you were not getting before, because this is appealing to anyone that wasn't at the quote stage, which, if you go back to the beginning of the webinar, it's about 97% of the people visiting your website. They're just kind of browsing, looking around, and they're going to be future buyers a month later, 3 months, a year from now. So we need to capture them today before they leave our site. So let's go and dive into some specific examples. So we're going to start with a cost report. And the idea behind this is that this is the number one thing that people are searching for. And if it's not number one, it's number two, but it's usually number one. If somebody wants to redo their kitchen, or they need to replace their roof, or they want new windows, or they need a new bathroom, new landscaping, anything, they want to know what it's going to cost, and they're going to start doing research. And so what we found is by developing a report that kind of details what your service costs in some ranges, that is super appealing to people, and they want to download it. And we know if somebody's downloading something related to cost, they're probably pretty interested in the service. Normally people aren't looking that up just for fun. They're actually doing serious research. So let's go and look at an example of how this plays out on a website. So this is a screenshot of a kitchen remodeling services page. So if you have a website, I'm sure you probably have a services page or a series of them where you talk about kitchens, baths, additions, or roofing, windows, siding, exterior, whatever service you happen to offer. And while somebody's on that page, they're kind of gathering information, trying to learn a little bit more, and then they see an example of this would be a call to action. So you can see two of them on this page. You can see at the very top, that's kind of a drop-down pop-up. It says, hey, if you want to learn more, download this free cost report. And then you can see that big one at the bottom, very prominent. Those are great for putting in service pages around your website, in blog posts. You can put them in the middle. You can put them at the bottom of those. So if somebody's actually reading and then they get to a point and they get to the end, I would encourage you to look at your website actually today and scroll down to the bottom of your blog posts or your pages and see if there's something for them to do. If they've actually read through the page and they go, okay, now what? This gives them something to do. And so that is that call to action. These are super easy to design up. You can use something like a free tool like Canva. You can hire a freelancer if you don't have graphic design skills, but something that's prominent, that draws the eye to the researcher. And then once they click on that, then we're going to take them to the landing page. And so this is that conversion page where we're saying, hey, if you want this report, go ahead and fill out some information. In this case, we're requesting a little bit more than first name and email. We're going for phone number and city. That's because we've actually gotten so many leads through this one, is we're starting to have to make it a little more difficult and pre-qualify a little bit harder, and asking for more information. But this is where you're basically saying, hey, I'm going to, like, you're trying to give them what you're going to deliver. Hey, if if you download this, this is what you can expect when you open the report. You can find out the average cost to remodel a kitchen, a bathroom, an addition, kind of all of this wrapped up into one. I think a lot of people get hung up in creating something like this because they think, gosh, well, this looks super fancy. How do I develop this report? This doesn't have to be this 50-page PDF, official report. It's nice to make it have some graphic design components and look like a report and look professional and on brand. But it could be a 5-page PDF. It could be a 7-page PDF. What you're really trying to do is say, hey, you've got some information you're looking for. I can deliver you that great information. And then obviously making it look professional just elevates that. But if you're just getting started, I would say just create something simple but effective. And now you've got it, and then you can improve on it over time. But I think that's where most people get hung up is, how am I going to create this initial report or this, fancy conversion piece of premium content? I started with this example because across the board, across all of our clients in dozens of different markets, cost is the number one converting campaign right now. Let's see. There's a question that just came in too from Amber. Do you think a cost report could potentially give a customer, oh, I can't afford that mindset, and push them away from the initial free estimate? Great question, Amber. I'm really glad this was perfect timing. You couldn't have teed me up more. Here's my take on it. With cost, what we want to do is, one, this will pull in way more leads than you'll turn away through that question. The other thing is, let's say you do kitchen remodeling and you kind of operate in a range of, low end 60 grand for a kitchen, high end 175. Well, in your cost report, you're going to talk about that being the range. And you're going to say, hey, this is why you might be at 60 grand, the low end. Hey, and at the high end, this is why you might be there. You're going to have more upgraded finishes. We're going to be moving walls. We're going to be restructuring the layout. Whereas the other one, it's a more simplified process. Maybe we're not moving any walls or structure or anything like that. What we've found is that people will download that. And then if they see 60 grand at the low end and they're like, wow, I had 20 grand in my mind, I don't actually want them to reach out and ask for an estimate. So back to your question, Amber, I hope that this report actually disqualifies some leads so you're not wasting time with people that are just way off for budget. And if somebody's close, right? If they were thinking, hey, I was thinking 50 grand, something like that. They might still reach out and go, well, I'm going to still explore, and that was close, and maybe my expectations were not aligned. The other thing is too, they've still filled out this form. So if you're still needing more appointments, you can reach out, and Josh is actually going to talk about what do you do when people fill out this form here in a few minutes. But yeah, really good question. What we've seen is that it actually acts as a huge lead attractor, but then it will start to weed out some people that are actually not a good fit. All right, cool. Let's look at another example here. If you don't want to tackle cost, which I know can be a little bit scary for the first time putting that information out there, although I would make a strong push to, I highly recommend talking about cost openly. A design guide is another option. So if we look at an example of that, it could be something like this, where you're saying, hey, you're interested in a kitchen. Let's talk about, how do you figure out your style? What fits your style for your personality, your home? What are you looking at for functionality? And let's lay out some options. And then let's talk about timeline. That's a big question people have. How long is it going to take to redo my kitchen? And so, again, we're kind of taking that, Josh mentioned earlier, they ask, you answer, and kind of pulling some of those questions that people have and putting them into a guide. And again, this could be 5 to 7 pages in terms of a PDF document, just laid out, walking them through. Hey, let's talk about style. Let's talk about functionality. Let's talk about process. Each one is a couple of pages. And then boom, somebody has to fill out name and email. And now we've captured them as a lead. And again, from there, we can talk about what do you do once we've captured them. But again, guys, just to kind of summarize, I'll walk through one more example, but these types of things are what allow people to kind of raise their hand, because they're on your website. They're not ready for that quote or that estimate. They're not ready to talk to a salesperson, but they're interested, right? They're researching. They're a few months out. They're a few weeks out. They just don't want to talk to somebody yet. Maybe it's 10 p.m. and they're sitting there in bed, husband and wife, they're on their iPad, they're doing research. They stumble across your website. If you don't have something like this, their only option at that point is to leave, because they're not going to call you. They're not ready to talk, so they don't want to fill out a contact us form. But this, they're more than happy to give up their name and email, because they're going, great, I can do a little more digging. I can get a little more information, and hopefully I can get to know this company a little bit more. All right, so let's look at one more example here. I just want to give you guys some ideas on how you could get started really simply. So this would be an example of, let's cover process, especially something with like building a custom home or a new home. There's a lot of steps. Most likely, whatever service you offer, there's several steps to that. And you guys are the experts. You know how the process works. Your customers, they don't. Chances are they've never done this project before. And if they have, they've maybe done it once. So they are looking to you to be the expert and the guide. And this positions you as the expert. It says, hey, you're looking to build a new home? Great. Here are the 10 major milestones and steps. Walk through them. And then they're super excited to get this information. They want to download that because they want to know, hey, if I'm going to do this, what does this look like? How does this play out? Am I going to be able to, again, with remodeling, am I going to be able to live in the home while we're redoing my kitchen? With building a new home, maybe they're renting, maybe they own somewhere else. They need to figure out timing. I need to sell my home, or I need to rent my home. When am I going to need to do that if we start the building process today? So this is just another example. And then Nicole had a good question. How many guides or ebooks do you recommend having available on your website? I would say, this is how I answer that question. Start with one for sure, because that puts you into the game of capturing top of the funnel leads. Then it becomes a game of trying to raise your conversion rate over time. And I like to break it down kind of by topic. So let's say cost. Well, you might have a blog post on how much does it cost to remodel a bathroom, another one on how much does it cost to remodel a kitchen, how much does it cost to do an addition. All of those types of posts, a cost report is perfectly congruent with those topics. Then maybe you've got another slew of topics around the latest kitchen design trends, the latest technology, layouts and functionality. Maybe the design guide is a good fit for all of those blog posts. So as you develop more free content with blog posts and your service pages, you're going to raise your conversion rate if you have something to convert them on that is very relevant to the free topics. So if you start to find yourself with, 5, 6, 10 articles or something like that in the free section around a topic, and you say, gosh, I don't have a good conversion point for this, that might be a good time for you to say, hey, I think I should build something related to that. And so over time, the goal is that maybe in a year you build out 2 of these, maybe 3 of these. Then the next year you might add 1 or 2 more. And then you fast forward a few years down the road and you have 6 or 7. But ultimately, after you do that, you'll find that probably 2 or 3 of them are your highest converters, and you'll just want to put those in more places and you'll start pulling the other ones down. So it's a little bit of an iterative testing process, but I would say start with 1 or 2 and then see how well those convert, and then try to add a couple more. But you don't need to load up on a ton, in the first year if you're just getting started on this. And then Kathy said, hey, I wish I'd done this a few years ago. Well, you know it today, and this is the best time to start. And then you also said, would you use this just on the website or use it on a landing page for a Google ad? Really good question. With your Google ads, I would test it because part of your Google ad campaign is going to be testing your keywords. So if somebody's typing in kitchen remodeling company Atlanta, they're looking to find a company that's very specific. You might drive that to a services page. But if it's more of a research driven term where maybe they're asking about cost or design trends or something that maybe isn't buying intent, then you might try driving them to something like this. I really like driving to a targeted landing page, whatever you're doing, not driving to the home page, because it gives you a much higher chance at converting. All right. So this is just another example of that same ebook we were looking at on what a landing page could look like. So again, you don't need to overthink these. Quick headline, compelling headline, a few bullets. The preview is huge. So you've seen this on all the landing page examples where it's like, here's what's inside. It just gives it a more tangible feel. And then a quick form. I like this one, email first and last. And you could really start with email and first name if you're just looking to say, hey, I just want to pull in as many as I can. All right. And then we're going to talk about here in a second, what do you do when you start capturing all these people that are in varying stages of the website? But just before we do that, here at Builder Funnel, if you're attending this webinar or watching it later, we're doing a free website audit. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, you can go ahead and hit yes on the poll. We actually don't really, we used to do these as kind of one of our conversion points. We don't really do these anymore. So if you do want to take advantage of this, this is pretty unique. So feel free to take us up on that.
Yeah, and it's absolutely free. Just to throw that out there, and it's really good. I've seen one of the reports that Spencer and his team puts together. So it'll provide you with a lot of insights and help guide you for what you need to be doing in the future. Spencer, that was so interesting when you were talking through those 3 different pieces of content: the cost guide, the design guide, and the new build guide. And I think we have quite a bit. When I was looking at the attendee list, quite a bit of remodelers here. So that's super relevant, guys. And the whole concept of like they ask you answer and the question about Google ads. Yeah, if somebody's asking how much Atlanta remodel cost, you want to show up first for that, right? So
Exactly.
Having that cost guide there is going to help you for like organic traffic and also paid traffic as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Anytime you're paying for traffic to send it somewhere, have some type of form, and it's easier for people to fill out something like that than request a quote.
For sure. And Judy has a good question here. Where do you get material for ebooks? Like, how do you actually come up with the content?
Yeah, really good question. So we've just done a lot of testing, over the years, and that's why I picked these 3. These are 3 of our best converters over probably the last 5 years or so. So I would say start with one of those, just kind of copy us and use those as general topics, right? So it's cost, it's design, and it's process. If you want to break it down simply, we've labeled them like the cost report and the home remodeling guide, design guide, and then the pre-construction process or checklist. But those are 3 topics that people really want to know about. I guess to add a little bit of context to that, you could also look at, if you've been blogging or you look at your website, look at your top viewed pages, and then that's data telling you the answer there. So if you're like, oh, we've written, 40 blogs over the last few years, well, the top 5, 3 of them are on design. It's like, okay, maybe we need something on that topic. And that's a more like data-driven way to do it. But I would say like ours are very data-driven. We've been testing these for a while. So just copy our topics and start with those if you don't have any. And then over time, you can refine it for your website.
For sure. And I know, Spencer, you guys at Builder Funnel have all the templates for this, right?
Yeah. And in our academy, we've tried to templatize a lot of that and just let people like grab and go. Just make it as easy as possible.
That's awesome. Cool. Thanks, Spencer. So what do you guys do now? I mean, you got a top of funnel lead. Now, what do you do? Spencer talked through how to actually get somebody to fill out the form, find you on Google, get that lead to download that piece of content. What do you do now? How do you engage with that lead? How do you get them to actually set an appointment 3, 6, 12 months down the line? And so you can eventually fill that funnel and sell to them. So I'm going to start with a Ricky Bobby quote. I feel like every opportunity that I can throw in a Ricky Bobby quote, I'm going to. So if you ain't first, you're last. So the second somebody fills out your design guide or your cost guide or, your building guide. Make sure that you get to the lead fast. You're top of mind. They just downloaded the piece of content. They're probably reading it. If you shoot them a text, shoot them an email, leave them a voicemail, you're going to be, top of mind as they're reading this piece of content. So generally speaking, the way I like to look at this is, engage instantly, then have a multi-touch follow-up. So it's not just the same day sending a text or the same day sending an email. It's also following up with helpful content, questions, and then eventually going in for the hard ask. So this is the design guide over here. When somebody clicks submit, you should be instantly engaging with that lead. Send them a text, send them an email. I'll show you guys some templates in a second. Day 3, ask any questions. Do you guys have any questions about the design guide that we sent over? Anything that just sparked your interest? Day 14, send another really helpful piece of content. So like Spencer mentioned before, say you have a design guide and a cost guide. Maybe they downloaded the cost guide on, day 1. Day 14, introduce another piece of content. It could be a blog post. It could be anything. Really, it doesn't necessarily have to be one of these pieces of premium content. Just something to establish more credibility to the homeowner. And then, of course, eventually you want to get to the point where, all right, is there a project timeline you guys have in mind? And then, of course, day 30, go in for the hard ask. Again, you guys can update this to your business based upon what's working and what isn't. As you test this, this is just a typical 30-day follow-up that we recommend here at Hatch for these types of leads. And it's important that when you follow up with these leads, you do not ask, hey, I saw you downloaded the cost guide. Are you ready for an appointment? That's absolutely inappropriate. You've got to establish trust and credibility with the lead over the course of the next couple of weeks or so before you can actually go in and ask for that appointment. An example of this is the jab hook approach, right? So the jab is the day 1. They filled out the content download. The second jab is the other piece of content. And then the hook is day 30 when you offer something. Maybe you introduce financing. Maybe you ask them, are they ready for an appointment? Something like that. It's important that you implement this jab hook approach. And an example of that is G.I. Joe. Like I'm sure you guys grew up or are kids that watched G.I. Joe Saturday morning cartoon. It was free to watch. You just turned on the television, watched G.I. Joe, and then G.I. Joe came out with action figures. And what did you do? You probably bought an action figure. Or you probably went to the movie and spent money on the movie. That's an example of providing value at no cost up front and then going in for the hard ask. And this is obviously, a well-known brand, but for your business, you can implement the same sort of process. Spencer, does that make sense? Are there any other examples you can think of from this jab approach?
Yeah, I love this part of it because you start capturing these top of the funnel leads, and the first instinct is like, awesome, I'm going to call them and try and book a meeting. And you just can't do that. To your point, you've got to build that trust and credibility because, again, it wasn't a referral. This is somebody just doing their research. And this is a great example. I actually will throw it back to, I think it's like 1809 or 1909, but John Deere, believe it or not, was one of the first in the game in terms of content marketing. And they put out a free magazine subscription. I'm blanking on the name, but it was basically just like, here's information on how to be a better farmer. Here's better information on how to make more money as a farmer, get better crop or whatever. And of course they sprinkled in some product for their, tractors and machines and all their equipment into that. And so that's a great example of here, we're going to give you this awesome magazine that's free. And then if you want to buy some more, you buy a product. So you can take this example and apply it across anything. It's just like, hey, we're starting with being either helpful or entertaining. In the G.I. Joe example, entertainment. And then, hey, now you're going to buy something down the road.
Yeah, no doubt. Just remember this, guys, the jab hook approach. And I'm going to go back to the slide one more time. Day 1, provide that piece of content. They probably downloaded it. They clicked the link. You need to make sure they take it with them in some way, shape, or form. So text and email, and then provide another piece of content on day 14, before you go in for the hard ask, jab, jab, hook. Day 30, special offer with financing. And I'll show you guys an example of that in real life. And I talked about texting earlier. Texting is the way homeowners want to communicate with you as a contractor. Here at Hatch, we're a messaging app. We lead with text for the campaigns that we run for contractors. Text gets a 98% open rate, significantly higher response rate than phone, email, or Facebook. So you got to go to where people are, and that's their cell phone. I mean, I can just think the amount of times, when I was, buying a car, for example, and the guy I was working with at the dealership, instead of sending me an email with information about when, the car came in, he sent me a text, and I was able to have a text conversation with them, and it was really easy. So in the same way for your business, guys, when somebody downloads a piece of content, be super accessible, guys. Being able to text a lead is going to increase your response rate, increase that engagement. It's going to also personalize it too. So as you send out these text messages, when you follow up with these content downloads, make sure you're being personalized. And here at Hatch, we can help you with that, with the campaigns that we're running. But either way, just make sure you're being personalized. And I'll show you guys an example of that, the jab jack hook approach.
Yeah, and Josh, before you dive into that, I just want to jump in because this is one of the reasons we partnered with you guys is that texting stat of 98% open rate. That's off the charts. I mean, a phenomenal email that we send out is maybe going to get a 40%, but you're typically looking at 30 or 20%, maybe even lower if your list isn't great. So anyway, just had to throw that in there because 98% open rates is insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. And in the very least, guys, they're gonna be able to just click the direct link to the download, have it stored on their phone, and it's gonna pull up in the browser. And then every time they go to your browser, it's probably gonna be a tab that's still open in the browser. So you're gonna always be top of mind here, guys. So feel free to take a screenshot of this. We're also gonna send this out after the webinar. This is a really good proven messaging template for follow-ups on these downloads. Hey, Jim, Josh from Copper Sky Innovations here. Thanks for downloading Cost Guide. Here's a direct link to it. Obviously on their phone, it's going to actually show the preview with the picture. But for this example, it didn't pull in. Day 3, introduce yourself as one of the design experts. So say, hey, I'm one of the design experts here at Copper Sky. Is there anything in the report that particularly caught your eye? This type of question is super open-ended. It's not asking them, do they want an appointment? Do they want do they want to engage with you further? It's just, hey, you saw the report. Is there anything that you're interested in? Is there anything that looked really cool? Was there a specific, cabinet that you designed that you really appreciated? Something like that. It's super open-ended. It's not a hard ask at all. It's just starting a dialogue. The key here is to start a dialogue, make it sound personalized. And if you introduce yourself as an expert in your field, which you are, the homeowner is going to be comfortable talking with you. And then when they respond, you can just continue that conversation. If they don't respond, keep going after them. And this is 2 weeks later. So Sunday, November 15th in this example, and they downloaded it Sunday, November 1st. So, hey, Jim, thought of you when I saw this kitchen design guide. Send a link to the kitchen design guide. Should give you some ideas. Again, this is the example of the jab, and I'll show you guys the hook. Hope that helped. Hope that helped. Do you have a timeline for your next project, or are you still looking around? Happy to point you in the right direction. We have a few specials going on and are now offering 0% interest with no down payment. Have some time next week for a free consultation. So the key piece here is they downloaded, this is an example of a cost guide follow-up template here. And so they download the cost guide. So likely they're cost conscious. They're probably a little further along in their decision-making process because they're looking for how much things cost. They're budgeting out over the next 3-6 months. So if you introduce, a lot of contractors now are introducing financing. It's become very popular, and the home improvement industry is starting to catch up with the car dealership industry, where layering in financing as part of structuring the deal is really helping with close rate. So offer something, like we have a few specials going on. We're now offering 0% interest. With no down payment, have some time next week for a free consultation. The key piece here is this direct ask. Don't sugarcoat it. Have a direct ask when you do that hook. Have some time next week for a free consultation. You're establishing a timeline with the homeowner and you're establishing expectations. It's a free consultation, and you're asking for time next week, not time in the general future, but time next week. And in the very least, somebody will respond and say, yes, how about Monday? Or they'll say, hey, I'm not quite ready. How about in 2 weeks? You're going to get an answer in some way, shape, or form if they're interested in pursuing a project. And here at Hatch, we put that all on autopilot for you. The second a lead comes in, you can instantly engage with that lead, follow up over text, email, voicemail. We make it stupid easy for you to get in touch with homeowners and set more appointments and close more deals. And I appreciate the folks that jumped into the chat and said that Hatch has been a game changer for their business. So if you want us to show you guys Hatch, see if it works for your business, we're happy to give you a rundown of our platform, what we can do, see how we can help, learn about your problems and how we might be able to solve them. Just jump on over to the chat and just say yes. We'll reach out and be in touch. And I really think this is going to be a good 1-2 punch in terms of working with Builder Funnel and Hatch in your business, because Builder Funnel, everything that Spencer showed you earlier today is in their Builder Funnel Academy, and they help develop for your business. So like all those templates, people were asking, how do I come up with this? Builder Funnel has that all for you. And then we can hook up to, the forms that Builder Funnel is running on these websites and engage with those leads over time. So that's why we partner with Builder Funnel. I love what Builder Funnel is doing in terms of getting that top of funnel lead gen instead of just direct asking for a quote, because there's 97% of people, again, on your website are not ready to buy. So capturing the 97% of leads is just absolutely critical for your business. So, yeah. Thoughts?
Oh man, I mean, I'm excited as well, just because we've traditionally, done a really good job of capturing top of the funnel, which I think for a lot of people, one, you're missing that opportunity, but the way you've blended, text, a super personalized medium, but also with understanding that we can't just cut right to the chase and ask for a quote or book a meeting, like understanding that journey. I see so many software companies miss that. Like they just want to, hey, we've got this tech, we want to just jump into sales mode. But the way you thoughtfully approach, like, okay, they're researching, let's check in, let's build that relationship. Again, it's text. It's like you're in their text chat with family and friends. So you've got to think about that. And the way you laid out that example is perfect, because then you build that relationship and then you move into, hey, let's book an appointment after I've like helped you learn a little bit more and educated you a little bit more. So no, man, I would just say, like, anybody watching this, like, these are two great takeaways. Like, start capturing top of the funnel leads, start building the relationship. And most of your competitors, they're not doing this stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks, Spencer. And we got some time here in the webinar. It looks like we're coming up on the hour here. So if you have any questions, head on over to the Q&A panel. We tried to answer as many as we could as we were going through the webinar. But if you have anything outstanding, any questions for myself or Spencer, drop them in the Q&A. Spencer, there's one that I think that a lot of folks are thinking in the back of their mind. How long does it take for somebody to build something like this?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So if you want to fast track it, I would say, like, you've got a website now. Somebody probably built it. Go to that person, say, I need a landing page for this cost report, this design guide that I'm building. Screenshot the examples that we sent. Say, hey, I want it to look kind of like this, 2-column, form on the right, some stuff on the left. So just delegate that real quick. See if, since they designed the site, have them design up a call to action real quick. So now you've got those two components, and now you need the report. And so you could draft that up in a Word doc, try to add some design elements. But I mean, like, that's the super shortcut version, like get it up and running quickly. I mean, you could knock that out in a week if you really needed to. And then the key is placing that call to action around the website in as many places as you can, making it prominent. Again, that's something your web developer designer could do. Obviously, our company does all this, but I also just want to give you the, like, hey, this is how you could just get this up and running fast. Because I love when you can watch a webinar and just jump into action and like do something that's going to help your business, and then you can refine and improve and take it to the next level later. So that would be my like quick action steps for you to get this up and running by end of January. That would be my challenge to you.
I love that, Spencer. And yeah, there's going to be a recording that we'll send out after the webinar, guys. Will had an interesting point about his industry. If we don't ask for and book an appointment as soon as we get the lead, we are going to miss out because there'll be 3 or 4 other companies booking those appointments. I guess it just depends on your industry and what if you're restoration or some sort of emergency repair, yeah, that makes sense that somebody will be, that the leads that come in on your website are not in research mode. They are in full-on emergency buy mode. But if you do have some product that you offer, or not product, but a service that you offer, that is something that people would be doing research on, try to map up some content that is going to, answer questions that people might have related to your service.
Yeah, and Will, just to jump in there too, if we don't know the industry, but if it's emergency related, and like when somebody reaches out and you've got to be fast, like that's where something even just like Hatch, where you got like an instant text that goes out as soon as that lead comes in, like that's the speed to lead. If you're not first, you're last, to go back to that slide. So yeah, it's just understanding like the buying journey. So there you go. Currently using Hatch. Perfect. So yeah, really the 1-2 punch of this is like, if people do any amount of research, that's where the top of the funnel is huge. And then when people are ready to book a meeting, that's where like the speed is huge.
Yeah, no doubt.
What else we got here?
The solar industry is also quick to need multiple quotes. So I see this as more of build the future funnel. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's building your funnel for the future. And yeah, I found the solar in particular, people are shopping around like crazy. And some people are not even sure they even want solar for their home. It's very much a like exploratory research type of purchase. We're partners with SunPower, and we see a lot of their dealers are, you have people shopping around for quotes, and their dealers will have the homeowners receive, 8 to 10 different other quotes, because people are, curious about the space and don't, maybe know too much about it, homeowners at least. So yeah, this is definitely to build your future funnel, because you want to be able to, not rely on home shows necessarily this year for leads. Because I know a lot of you guys are relying on home shows and they're being canceled or turning virtual. And so your lead generation is going to be a lot less. Another question that came in is, our clients are typically 75 and over. Does this work for them as well? And Chris works for Safe Showers. Safeshowers.com is their website. Yeah, that's a good question. It will work for them. More and more folks in that generation are getting online, and they may not necessarily want to engage with you over text. They may want to engage with you over email or over phone. So again, that goes back to the multi-touch follow-up I talked about earlier, and multi-channel follow-up, which means not just engaging over text, but also email and leaving a voicemail, because they're going to at least give you their phone number. And if it's their landline, you can at least leave a voicemail or give them a call, and ask them if they have any questions about the report.
Yeah, and I would say too, like on the research side, I know that Age Bracket searches online and does research, probably less aggressively and frequently as like younger generations, but they're still online. But I find too, we got family that's in the senior housing industry as well, and a lot of times it's the adult child doing the research for them, going, I'm looking into I don't know if it's the same case for you, where you see that, where maybe the kids are looking for that information, and they're maybe in their 30s, 40s, or 50s looking for mom or dad. So I think you've got an opportunity to capture those people too.
For sure. Well, there's not any more questions. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks everybody for hopping on this morning. I guess it's now afternoon for East Coast. So hope everybody has a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend. And we're going to be sharing this recording as well as the slide deck after the webinar, so you guys can share this with your team. Spencer, thanks for hopping on. Spencer from Builder Funnel. Check out his book. What's the URL for that book again?
Yeah, remodelermarketingblueprint.com. Yeah, if you want to throw me a $16 birthday present, buying the book would be awesome. But yeah, I had a lot of fun today, and I appreciate you guys all jumping in the chat. It makes these way more fun, engaging, and tangible for like what you guys are working on. So yeah, thanks for attending, and Josh, thanks for the invite. Yeah, I think it was way back at the beginning, but yeah, there's the URL. So if you want to pick up a copy, that'd be awesome. But otherwise, thanks guys for attending, and thanks Josh.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Kathy.